Hello, my name is Uliana Boldyreva, and I am an undergraduate student in the Bachelor of Health Sciences program at McMaster University. On behalf of myself and my co-authors, Dr. David Strider, Dr. Peter Rosenbaum, and Dr. Gabriel Ronen, I would like to present this study looking at quality of life in adolescents with epilepsy, cerebral palsy, and population norms. There are three main reasons of why we decided to approach this topic. Currently, there is a knowledge gap in the holistic approach to healthcare, with a lot of the focus still being placed on physical health. We aim to address this gap by looking at patient-reported quality of life outcomes. Secondly, as care decisions are often made with input from both the patient and their parents, there was a need to explore how the patient and parent views on the child's quality of life differ. And lastly, this is a continuation of a study done in 2015 that looked at quality of life in children with epilepsy and cerebral palsy. We wanted to see how quality of life perception changes from childhood to adolescence. Our two main objectives were to compare the association of various factors on self and proxy-related quality of life measures among adolescents with epilepsy, adolescents with cerebral palsy, and adolescent norms, and to compare stress levels in parents of adolescents with epilepsy and parents of adolescents with cerebral palsy. Our participants were all aged between 13 and 17, and the data from the epilepsy group was provided by the Qualité group in Canada. The cerebral palsy group was kindly provided by the Sparkle group from a longitudinal study done in Europe, and data from the general population group was taken from the manual for the Kidscreen 52 measure. Those who had an IQ lower than 70 were not allowed to self-report and were only reflected in proxy reports. Following the application of the exclusion criteria, these are the four groups that we used for our data analysis. We used the Kidscreen 52 measure for the quality of life outcomes, which has 10 different domains. And we used the Parenting Stress Index to measure parental stress, and this measure had 4 domains. To analyze the data, we did a one-way ANOVA with 2 keys post hoc, and we also looked at Cohen's d-value for clinical importance. The main finding of this study was evidence that quality of life, as reported by the adolescents themselves, was similar in populations of young people with epilepsy or cerebral palsy when compared to adolescents in the general population. The school environment domain showed higher scores for the epilepsy group and the combined epilepsy and cerebral palsy group than for the general population. This result was surprising, as this was not found in the previous study exploring children's quality of life. While more than half of the young people were enrolled in regular schooling, 35% were enrolled in either regular classes with special help or in specialized classes, and this difference from the general population might have made school more enjoyable, as it is tailored to the abilities of the children. However, we do need to consider that the self-reported results excluded lower functioning children in the epilepsy and cerebral palsy groups, so that should be taken into consideration when comparing the proxy report results, which included the children that were not able to self-report. Other findings show that there were lower scores in the social support and peers domain in those with both epilepsy and cerebral palsy, which highlights the need for better aid in place for those with multiple conditions. Unlike the self-reported results, the proxy-reported results from parents of young people with epilepsy or cerebral palsy showed lower perceived quality of life than the general population in the domains of physical well-being, mood and emotions, autonomy, social support and peers, and social acceptance. This finding corresponds with other studies that show the parents of children with chronic conditions tend to report lower scores than the adolescents themselves, as they appear to underestimate their child's ability to adapt and cope with their diagnosis. Looking at the parenting stress data, parents of young people in the epilepsy group showed significantly higher PSI scores in all 4 domains than parents in the cerebral palsy group and parents in the combined epilepsy and cerebral palsy group. A possible reason for these results is the unpredictable nature of epilepsy. Also, the loss of control associated with seizures increases the discrimination that children face. While this study looks at Canadian and European populations, the parental stress associated with epilepsy is even higher in developing countries. But regardless of the location, more social support is necessary for families impacted by epilepsy, and this support should not be limited to the individual with the condition. The parenting stress could also be heightened because of the approaching transition out of school and into adult life, and more support and services should be in place to help the parents and their children through this transition. The self-reported quality of life results should serve as a source of comfort for the parents of the populations reported, as it presents a more optimistic perspective on the quality of life in adolescents with epilepsy or cerebral palsy than has traditionally been assumed to be the case. The negative perception of quality of life by parents can be taken into account by physicians and therapists when communicating with the families. This study provided further evidence of the importance of self-reported measures of quality of life, as the parent proxy-reported scores were not an accurate representation of the children's own self-reported experience. Future steps are needed to compare longitudinal trends in quality of life and parenting stress, and to explore societies outside of Canada and Europe. If you would like to learn more about our findings, you can find the full article online at the Journal of Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology. Thank you for watching.